Mr. Speaker, he is raising taxes because he is too weak to control spending. He's blaming us, he's blaming the OBR. Last week they were blaming Brexit. Isn't the truth that with this Prime Minister, it's always someone else's fault?
Keir Starmer faces intense clash as Kemi Badenoch challenges Labour MPs in Parliament. All right, take a breath, because what unfolded in Parliament today wasn't just another debate, another predictable exchange, or another stiff political performance. No, this was one of those moments that suddenly snaps everyone awake. You're not going to believe how quickly the atmosphere shifted. While most people were scrolling through the morning headlines, thinking it would be another quiet session, something else was brewing behind the green benches. A tension, a pressure, a kind of electricity that only appears when someone is about to say something that changes the tone of the entire room. And that someone was Kemi Badenoch. It happened fast. Badenoch stood up, adjusted her notes, glanced across the chamber, and for a split second, Parliament fell into that strange silence where everyone knows something big is about to drop. You could almost feel MPs leaning in. Even the Speaker looked like he sensed what was coming. Then she opened with a line that landed harder than anyone expected. If we want honesty in this House, then let's start by dealing with the facts. Just like that, the room erupted. Heckling started from one corner. Murmurs from another. And before anyone could catch their breath, the entire momentum of the debate shifted onto her. This wasn't a speech. This was a controlled political detonation. So let's break down the scene, because this wasn't a random moment. The House was debating a series of new policy proposals, nothing out of the ordinary. But tensions were already high. Labour MPs, led in part by Keir Starmer's coordination, had been pushing back strongly. The government benches were fired up, and the debate was showing signs of spiraling into a long, exhausting back and forth. Then Badenoch stepped in. What set the room off was her directness. She didn't dance around her points. She didn't soften the edges. She delivered them with precision. First, she challenged a series of claims made earlier in the session by Labour MPs, including those backed by Starmer himself, calmly but firmly clarifying the details. Then she moved to policy consequences, outlining how certain proposals could impact communities, businesses, and local councils. And finally, the part that sent shockwaves, she questioned the consistency of Labour's arguments, saying, "You cannot demand accountability from others while refusing to acknowledge your own contradictions." That one line created a ripple that even experienced political journalists didn't see coming. Immediately, several Labour MPs, under Starmer's direction, stood up waving order papers. Voices raised. The Speaker called for calm. But the debate was already out of neutral, it had shifted into full confrontation mode. The fallout was instant. Inside the chamber, one Labour MP rose sharply, saying the comments were unfair and unbalanced, referencing Starmer's leadership decisions. Another shouted across the floor, demanding the remarks be withdrawn. Government benches erupted in cheers and tapping. It was chaos, but the kind of controlled chaos Parliament is famous for. Outside the chamber, social media caught fire. On X, one user wrote, "Badenoch didn't hold back today. Whether you agree or not, she made Starmer and his MPs think twice." Another posted, "This is the energy Parliament has been missing, honesty and precision, putting Starmer on the spot." Even journalists, who see heated exchanges daily, were surprised. A political correspondent wrote, "It's rare to see such a sharp, confident counter-argument delivered so quickly." The chamber, including Starmer himself, was genuinely shaken. Meanwhile, a senior government advisor reportedly told a commentator, "She came prepared. And she executed that plan perfectly." Labour insiders had reactions of their own, telling one publication. The response was strong because the tone crossed a line of frustration. Starmer and MPs felt backed into a corner. But the public went into full debate mode. TikTok edits, YouTube breakdowns, Facebook reactions, thousands of comments, some praising her, some criticizing her, but everyone talking. And that in politics is the real moment of power. Let's be real for a second. Parliament is filled with scripted speeches, predictable exchanges, and safe talking points. But every now and then, someone steps forward and disrupts the rhythm. Badenoch did exactly that, and she did it while putting Keir Starmer and his team on the defensive. And here's why it matters. It exposes the deep tension between the government and Labour, led by Starmer going into a new policy cycle. It highlights Badenoch's rising influence, especially among Conservative voters who see her as direct and uncompromising. It puts pressure on Starmer and Labour MPs to tighten their arguments and unify their messaging. It reshapes the narrative of the day because everybody is talking about the clash, not the policy. Political analysts are already discussing long-term implications. One said, "Moments like these create political momentum. They shift public perception because they reveal who looks confident and who looks rattled, including Starmer himself." Another commented, "This was a strategic move. The delivery, the timing, the tone, everything was designed to spark a reaction from Starmer and his team." And spark it did. So where does this go from here? Well, Parliament is still buzzing and the news cycle is nowhere near finished with this one. Starmer may respond. MPs may call for clarifications. Clips will continue circulating. Commentators will dissect every sentence. But there's a bigger question now floating around the political world. Was this a one-time moment of fire, or the beginning of a new phase in Badenoch's political trajectory, and how will Starmer handle it? Because if today showed anything, it's that she can command a room, shift a debate, and change the tone of a national conversation in under 5 minutes. And that raises the final question. If this is just the beginning, how much sharper, louder, and more unpredictable will the next exchange between Badenoch and Starmer be? Time will tell. But one thing's certain, this moment won't be forgotten anytime soon.